Bill Panoff here with Porthole Magazine. And if we're looking for a travel update, we are with the right person to know how to get around safely heading into the fall season. I'm joined today by Sarah Dandashy, the award-winning concierge and travel expert. And you can check her latest trips out on askconcierge.tv. Sarah, how are you?
I'm doing well. So great to connect with you, Bill. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you here. What a nice departure from, not that I want to depart from cruise, but obviously it's so nice to learn about just general travel and your experience. And tell us a little bit how you got started and tell us about Ask a Concierge.
I actually have worked in the hotel industry for well over 15 years, actually almost even 2 decades, which I'm scared to even say that I've done anything for almost 2 decades. So I worked in hotels, I mean, pretty much, for quite some time. And I've actually been a concierge for over 15 years. Wow. And we're talking about luxury and high-end properties. My background is I'm actually half Lebanese. So I actually grew up living in and around the world. And so going into hotels seemed like even though it wasn't intentional, it was definitely a perfect and natural fit. And I just immediately felt at home there. So kind of living, eating, breathing in hotels, and but I also live in Los Angeles, so I do have quite a bit of experience with on camera and writing and doing all of that. I ended up kind of melding my 2 worlds, which is my passion for film and TV, as well as my passion for, for the hospitality industry and certainly travel. And that is how Ask a Concierge was born. And I then started doing travel videos. I started actually more locally because I'm being a concierge in Los Angeles. I focused on things to eat, see, and do in LA. And then just as I would travel, I'd cover different destinations. And now it's really grown into a full, create travel videos, work with a lot of different big brands in regards to that. And I think what's a little bit different as far as, my approach compared to others is I do have that really, really strong hospitality background. I've done training, I've written books on, how to be a concierge. I've done, so when it comes to really understanding that segment of the travel industry, I definitely know it well. And as I always say, certainly working as a hotel concierge, I've worked on the front lines of travel. If I wasn't
you're talking about prestigious hotels. I mean, you're talking about the London West Hollywood, the Four Seasons, Washington, D.C., the Hermitage, the Peninsula Beverly Hills. I mean, wow.
A pretty decent pedigree, I have to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What is the most odd request you ever received from a guest regarding, working as a concierge, being on the front line, something that sticks out in your mind to this day?
Sure. So it's interesting. So I will preface it by this, is that after you've been a concierge for several years, nothing surprises you because you get asked for everything. But I think a really interesting example is, in the summertime, we would definitely have a lot of guests come in from the Middle East, and they'd come and they'd stay for a good chunk of the summer. And so I mean, even for example, with this particular family, they came and they're like, hey, we want to learn how to drive. So next thing you know, we're setting them up with driving lessons. They're getting, they're working on doing all of that to get a license. And then they wanted a puppy. We helped procure a puppy. Then the puppy trained. Then, well, guess what? They want to take the puppy home. So now we need to go ahead and coordinate that the puppy has all the appropriate shots and everything to fly back home. So, that's a pretty interesting one, and definitely not under the usual umbrella of where should I go to eat tonight.
Amazing, amazing. We recently published a piece on porthole.com about how some travelers are in fact traveling during this time, but many people think they should not travel right now. What are your thoughts on that, and is it wrong?
You can do it, and you can absolutely be safe about it. I think where it gets very questionable is where people have a cavalier attitude. At the end of the day, we are in the middle of a pandemic. And if you look back, and even if you just want to even do some basic research and look at, for example, the Spanish flu, even though there are similarities, but a lot of differences, really what they found is that what ended up spreading the disease, it was people traveling. So there is an element of that, but that's not to say that you can't travel carefully. And I, in
Right.
fact, am going to be traveling later this week.
Oh,
We'll be taking the appropriate precautions. As far as getting tested before, getting tested there,
uh-huh, uh-huh.
wearing a mask. So it is dicey. I think the reason why it's hard to give it a blanket statement is because ultimately it comes down to the responsibility of the traveler. If the
I
traveler
see.
is responsible, sure. If the destination makes sense, sure. If travelers like not responsible and they're doing their COVID parties like they were doing at home,
Yeah,
maybe stay at home.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Influencers are also on the front line of a lot of criticism. Many are hesitant to post during this time. Do you have any insight on how the hotel industry is viewing this? And will travel imagery change after all this passes?
Yeah, well, I think travel imagery will change in the short term, because what is the big concern that hotels are having right now is that they really want to relay the message that they are doing the best that they can to make sure that
Right.
it's a safe and comfortable environment for travelers. So that being said, if it works into whether it's the budget or the availability for a hotel, and they can work with travel influencers if they're the appropriate type of property, then it's actually a great working with travel influencers in that sense is a great tool to help educate travelers. Because really what they're trying to do is they're like, hey, we've done our part. And if you do need to, go and get out of town, we are a safe option. And I get it. As far as a travel influencer, they just need to be mindful that you're sharing information that is, it's not like you're going somewhere and you're partying. You're like, you can go
Right.
to Cancun, but it's maybe like you're not partying in the middle of Cancun, but you can go to Cancun and be like, hey, look, they are implementing social distancing. They've
Sure,
done
sure,
this. And so,
sure.
so long as they draw attention to that, which is, it's the elephant in the room,
Right,
really.
right.
I think it's okay. And honestly, people that are staying at home are waiting for that. They want to see what's it like on the other side.
What new trends are you seeing in the hospitality industry during this period? Anything new that has cropped up as a result of this?
Obviously, the main thing is the emphasis on cleanliness. Obviously, cleanliness was there before, but
Sure.
taking it to a completely different level. And then also just offering experiences like in a different way. So it's, the hotel experience does look different. You will see signage in the lobby that's reminding people to stay 6 feet apart. You might see normal, couches or sofas spread a bit different, spread further. If a hotel traditionally had done, let's say a buffet breakfast, or now we're looking at more grab and go single wrapped items. And then even, for example, being by a pool, you might not have the lounge chairs so close to each other. So really
Right.
right now it's the emphasis on cleanliness and space. And then even further on that, with the hotel experience, I know so many of us look to hotels because of housekeeping. It's nice to be able to go, and then you come
Sure.
back and your room is magically made up and so clean and
Uh-huh.
tidy. You
Uh-huh.
wish you had that at home. And depending on where you are, some hotels are not even offering housekeeping services at all throughout the entire stay,
Sure. Sure.
and others you have to call and they'll come only when you're out of the room. So it is looking different, that's for sure.
Gotcha. In one of your recent pieces, How to Be a Better Traveler, you mentioned being kind as a main point while traveling. And on
Yeah,
social media, we've seen so many instances of people really getting heated.
we
Any
have.
advice for travelers on how they may encounter a situation like this, or maybe travelers that often encounter situations and get anger during travel? How do you resolve that?
At the end of the day, traveling is stressful, and some
Sure.
people just glide right through and it's not a big deal for them. Some people, it's just they really have a hard time with it. But it's really to ultimately put yourself in the other person's shoes. And especially right now, people are going to hotels and they're like, well, why isn't this faster, or why aren't you doing
Right.
this, or whatever the case is. And it's like, well, okay, keep in mind that in this particular case the industry was practically decimated, and
Right.
they're operating with less employees right now. So each employee that is working, which first of all, they're thankful to even be working, because the
Right. Right.
alternative is that they've lost their job. So they're working, they might be doing the job of 2 or 3 different positions.
Sure.
So, and I've always said this when it comes to, you know, just travel and being kind, even pre-pandemic. It's a lot. You're dealing with a lot of personalities, and really the nature of the hospitality industry is that anybody that's working there really wants to go ahead and please. For example, maybe you're looking for an upgrade, or you're traveling for a special occasion. And if
Sure.
you call and you talk to them and you share, you know, we haven't been on a trip in 6 months and we're doing this, or we're celebrating an anniversary, and you have this beautiful interaction that is based out of kindness, it's
Right.
amazing how it'll come back to you.
Sure,
So
sure.
we have to keep our cool right now because nothing is normal.
Sarah, this has been a great pleasure, and really amazing to have you on our show here and to learn and listen to your insights. How can our viewers get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about Ask a Concierge?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can definitely find me readily available online. My website is askaconcierge.tv, and certainly on all social media platforms at Ask a Concierge. And feel free, always reach out. Let me know if you have any questions, and happy to help inform travelers or answer anything that you might have.
Thanks so much, and enjoy your first trip after how many months you've been
Oh my
not
goodness.
traveling? It's been quite a while, obviously.
So I haven't actually traveled since the end of January. So
Wow.
this will be first time on a plane since then. I will be sharing it and documenting it so that people know what to expect, and obviously taking the utmost, you know, precautions, and showing what it's like, and how that, you know, should you need to go, or for whatever the reason is, how you can travel safely as a responsible traveler.
Well, great pleasure interviewing you, and hope to have another interview after your trip to Mexico. Enjoy, be safe, and stay healthy. And thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, you bet.